So our final topic of the day, we've got the shoe. We've got the RZA of shoe reviewing here with us. The OG Alex Sear.
High praise.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the whole Super Trainer thing. They've been kicking around for a couple of years, and you've just basically done, was it back to back? Pretty much back to back video reviews. If you haven't checked out Alex's shoe reviews on our YouTube channel, they are must-watch programming. They are entertaining whether or not you give. I'm like trying not to
care about the shoes. Let's put it that way. You could just not care about the shoes. And
trying to keep a clean rating here on the pod, and I'm not good at that. So, you don't have to care about the shoes to enjoy these. So, kudos to Mr. Sear on his on his creative skills with these reviews. But you touched upon the correct me if I get this one wrong. The On Cloud Monster 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
Maybe the stupidest name for a shoe that I can possibly come up with, but I'm curious to hear what you think about the shoe. And then the Hoka
Skyward
X, right? Which you would categorize as super trainers, right? So tell us a little bit, like what for those who do not pay attention to what's going on in the world of shoe design and development. What is a super trainer? Why is it not a super shoe? And why is it not a trainer?
I'll try to keep it brief, but there's a little history to that. And we need a better name for super trainer because that gets conflated with super shoe. Anyway, I'll explain the difference. A few years ago, there were two categories of shoes. There were your regular trainers, so your New Balance 860s, what you'd wear on everyday runs. And then you would have your new flashy super shoes. So think of the Nike Vaporfly and everything that came after that. That left people with a problem. There was nothing in the middle. So it was clear you'd race with those super shoes. You would train with those regular trainers. But what do you do your workouts in? Everyone had a different interpretation. Some people would take their super shoes, wear them for every workout, and then wear them again in the race. Other people would only train in their regular training shoes and break out those super shoes only on race day. Then brands clued in that people needed an intermediary, a workout shoe that had some of the specs of a super shoe, but also had a bit more support and cushioning to take you through the workouts. Thus was the creation of the super trainer. Every brand has a super trainer now. So these are they're middling shoes, essentially. A little bit heftier and heavier than racers, a little bit more springy and poppy than your training shoes. So I'd say now, if someone wants to have a full arsenal of shoes, the way to do it is you get one of the three. You get your training shoes for easy runs. You get a pair of super trainers for workouts and super shoes for races. So the Hoka Skyward X would be a good example, right? They're massive shoes. You wouldn't want to race in them, but also they don't feel like classic training shoes. You could actually do a workout in them, even though they're quite a bit heavy because they have a lot of pop. So that's where we are. There are three bona fide categories of racing shoes. I actually quite like the super trainers. What I do is I do my workouts in them.
Katelyn, do you have super trainers? Do you have like a fleet of shoes that you go through?
I do. I'm not going to lie. I do push the shoe rotation. And I think that's just so I can have a bunch of different pairs of shoes at all times. But I don't. I just have the super shoes that I ran the marathon in. And I broke them in 2 long runs beforehand just so I could see how they felt and how I was going to respond and how my feet would feel in them. And I loved them, but I don't have any super trainers, but this is an interesting hybrid that I think I want to look into and add it in there to the rotation.
Katelyn is on Amazon as we speak, ordering
exactly.
the Cloud Monster 2. I remember when the Nike Pegasus Turbo first came out. If you guys remember that shoe, that was 2017 or 18. It was right after the first wave of the Vaporfly or the 4%, the very first iteration of the super shoe. About a year into it, they did this thing in the lead up to Tokyo, the Tokyo Olympics that got canceled. So it was probably around 2019. They brought Kipchoge to Tokyo the year beforehand to hype up the relaunch of what effectively is probably like, version 1 of the super trainer, which was this. They took a peg. So they took an everyday trainer. They slid a nylon plate into it, which they also did with the Zoom Fly. Is that the one it's called? They sort of stepped down a non-super shoe, which I guess is also a super trainer. So it was kind of had a stiffness and a snappy responsiveness to it, but it had a sort of more durable chunk of midsole foam in it. So you could get more than a couple hundred miles or more than a couple hundred kilometers out of it. So I've had a couple of pairs of those, and I did find myself using them for the express purpose that they're designed for, which is tempo workouts and that sort of thing, and also the odd long run as well. So, but what do you guys think about running? I mean, Katelyn, you did a couple of tester runs in the super shoe, but I know of people that use a pair of super shoes or a pair of like kind of maybe past prime super shoes to do like long runs or workouts in. What do you guys think about doing that?
I would have liked to use, if I had, an influx of these super shoes and were able to use them all the time, I would like to use them for my workouts because I really liked the way they felt. But I just, was saving them for the marathon, and really glad that I did, because they were looking a little tired, even with their 150 kilometers on them or whatever it is. Like they are looking like it's pretty much the end of their life at this point. But I would have liked to, or I would like to run more of my workouts, or at least my fastest maybe speed workout a week in those shoes, because I did feel a great difference, and I loved running in them.
Alex, do you think that maybe running in like a plated shoe is it a good idea to do it a couple of times a week? I don't know.
Well, I think I was the target market for the super trainer industry and market. I love them. I don't work out in regular trainers anymore because I find my strides actually different. If I want to work out in a way that I almost race and be up on my toes and run at a certain pace and get my body used to like a certain type of effort for a certain type of pace, I just don't find workouts in. I always say the New Balance 880s, not because I don't like them. It's because those are the ones that I use for easy runs right now. And I love them for easy runs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I wouldn't work out in them because they don't have the balance of a super shoe. I also don't work out in super shoes. And I think that's more of a superstitious thing on my part. I like this psychological advantage of showing up to race day, knowing that I have a pair of shoes that are going to make me a tiny bit faster than I've been in workouts. And I don't know if there's much of a physical, it's a 4% thing. It's probably more psychological than physical. It's also good on the wallet because then I get to save those racing shoes for race day. Right. They don't have that long of a lifespan. But twice a week, religiously in the last few years, I've worked out in super trainers.
All right. Well, we'll leave it at that for now. I may have to try a pair of these super trainers. I feel like now we're gonna have to bring in some super trainers here and see how they feel. Cause you got me with my stride is different when I'm running that fast. I'm like, is my stride different? My stride might be different. Maybe I have to get some super trainers. Okay.
It's
you
settled.
just sold us.
Yep, it's
yeah,
settled.
you did the work. You did the work for On and for Hoka. There you go.